God had to break me. And it was the sweetest thing. Got less and less, and we began to struggle financially. I wasn't providing for my family in the way that I needed to, and I began to resent God. Started out small at first. God, look, I've been praying. You're not speaking to me. Why? What's going on? Come on, God, just a little bit. Reveal yourself a little bit. I mean, after all, I've been a faithful servant for years. And of course, that turned into, God, where are you? Listen, I deserve to be heard and for you to speak to me because I have given my life to you and I have served you. So the resentment turned to bitterness. And years went by. I call it my dark period. 15 years of silence from God. 15 years of me becoming more and more distrustful of Him. Finally, after several years, I decided, okay, God, you don't want me in the ministry anymore. I get it. You just can't use me anymore. Fine. I'm going to get into the secular world, and guess what? Since you wouldn't talk to me, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to do things on my own and show that, prayer just really isn't what it's all cracked up to be. So I went into the secular field and tried something. It started out great, but then bombed. Tried something else, same results, failure. During this time, we hadn't been really attending church very regularly, weren't real happy with the church we were at. And so a friend of ours recommended we come to their church. I knew it. It was a wonderful church, from what I knew, and put it off. And finally my wife said, we need to go to that church. Let's go visit. So we did, and we were just blown away. I heard an awesome message. It was great. And so we went back. And then my wife said, we really need to go visit Sunday school if we're going to join this church. You know how you are about Sunday school. That's what you love. And of course she was right. And I'm like, no, I don't know. People will be nice and they'll smile at me and they'll ask me questions. Nah. She said, no, we're going. So of course we went. And again, just absolutely blown away. These people just loved us into their group and just ministered to us through their joy, through their commitment, their devotion to God. It was just incredible. Our Sunday school teacher, lesson after lesson, was just like inspired by God. He was speaking to me again, and I was feeling His presence, and it felt and tasted so wonderful. And so after several months, one Sunday morning, early in the morning, I hadn't been able to sleep, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, I had like gas pains, and so I took some Rolaids, and didn't really help. A couple hours later, about 4, same thing, took some more Rolaids. I was nauseated, didn't know what was going on. Finally, about 6 o'clock, I woke my wife up, and I said, listen, I don't know what's going on, probably nothing, but I think you need to call 911. And she did, and the ambulance came and checked me out, and they said, we need to take you into the hospital and have you thoroughly checked out. So as they're rolling me out to the ambulance, I remember telling my wife, call my brother, tell him what's going on. He doesn't need to come, but just let him know. And then call our Sunday school teacher and tell him we won't be at church that morning. 6 days later, I awoke in the ICU unit of a hospital, and my wife told me that I had had a massive heart attack, that I had died 4 times, that they had done bypass surgery. The surgeon, before he did the surgery, went out and talked to her and said, look, his heart is so sick, it's just so sick. And she felt like he was saying, I don't know if he's going to live or die. He later told me that he actually held my heart in his hands and massaged it at one point. I had seizures, pneumonia. My blood platelets weren't doing whatever blood platelets are supposed to do. They had to give me more blood than was common. So problem after problem after problem came up. So they were worried about my mental capacity. If I were to survive, they told my wife, you better prepare yourself because he's lost so much oxygen to his brain, he may not be the same mentally. And I ended up spending 10 days in the ICU, 17 days total in the hospital. And people would ask me, did you see a light in those times that you were dead? Or they would ask me, were you ever in heaven? Did you see God? Or were you in His presence? Something like that. And I began to try and think and remember, and I had to be honest, and no, I don't remember that. It's not to say I wasn't, because I awoke with such a presence of God in my life. God had done something to me. I don't know what it was. I don't remember seeing Him or speaking to Him, but His hands were obviously all over me. As the surgeon had massaged my heart, God had been massaging my spiritual heart. But He showed me something even more important. It wasn't that He was just there in that crisis. He revealed that He had been with me throughout the whole dark period. That He had, as He promised in His Word, He had never left me or forsaken me. After all, He was my God. He was my Father. He was my Savior. He lived inside of me. Where could He have gone? Nowhere. It was I who had left Him. It was I who made it all about me. God, why aren't you helping me? I've been faithful. I've been loyal. Where are you? You're supposed to help with my needs. Why aren't you there? He began to show me that I couldn't be first or second or last, because I have been crucified with Christ. It was no longer I who lived, but Christ who lived in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me. See, if I make my life about me in any way, first, second, last, then I'm a consideration. And that's a temptation to put myself ahead of Christ. It cannot be about me. It has to be all about Jesus. So for me, I have to consider myself as no man. It's all about Him. So I must be no man. He must be everything.